Hi y'all, I'm Allison. Today we're here to find out if Melissa is going to get any guidance from the magical jar. She is trying to go down the novice path in time to make it to Orilium Academy for this spring semester that will be starting here very soon in April. So we missed it last year, and this year I was determined to create a character to join in on G's Magical Readathon. And by George, I think I've done it. So we're also racing to do all the stuff from last year before this semester starts up. And we've got one step left. We're trying to give Melissa, our little dwarf from Jaron, the information that she needs to hopefully clear the checkpoints on the novice path to the academy. So if you would like to see how we came across Melissa to begin with and the first step of her journey, I will link the playlist up here and have it down in the description box for y'all as well as the link to G's readathon, which is coming up in April, and I am so excited to get in on it this year. All right, we need to find a book that is going to go with one of these prompts. And if you've missed the other ones, I am doing this backwards. I'm not going to choose a prompt and then pick a book. I'm picking the book and hoping it will match a prompt. So if it does fit more than one of these, then all the better, because we're trying to get Melissa the best odds that she has to actually make it through these checkpoints. Secret, she'll make it no matter what. She's not going to be turned down, but it's fun to do it this way. So let me grab my little magical jar and let's see what book she has to read before the school semester starts. Now in here I have some that the yellows are 2023 purchases, blue are 2022, and white is either from a TBR vet jar or from 2021. So there's a little bit of everything in here. We're just going to pick one out and let fate decree what book will have to be read. And it's going to be a blue one. I hope it's something good and relatively easily to get through because I've got a big list this month. Scorch, which is a trilogy by Gina D'Amico. And I am on part 3. This will actually finish the series. Let me go find out what's the name of this one. It's on my Nook. I don't know where my Nook is. Okay, the third one is Rogue. And I don't know how I'm going to be able to do this, because I wanted to be able to read this one and check in with y'all as I'm reading through the book to let you know what I think about it. And since this one's going to end a trilogy, I don't want to ruin anything for anyone who is potentially interested in reading it. By the way, I've read the first 2 in the series and I absolutely love it. And again, I won't be able to gush to y'all because it's a part 3. So I think under those circumstances, I am going to put this back into my regular 2022 TBR jar. And we're going to draw again and get something that I can hopefully share with y'all as I read along. So that's what we'll do. Okay, let's see. We have this blue one. And it is The Whispering Dark. I don't know what this one is. This is Owl Crate, I believe. It says on the back, he was a paper moth in the dark. She was a light. This is the exclusive cover. And that's pretty. Oh, we have it's maybe Dark Academia. We've got a library scene there. And a lighthouse, and is that a bone hand holding maybe a pomegranate. It also has beautiful end papers. Not pretty. Okay, we have a boarding school, and Delaney, our main character, is deaf. Okay, Delaney always talked to the dark. She never expected it to talk back. She started being seen as fragile just because she's deaf. And she's accepted into a prestigious program that trains students to slip between parallel worlds. But her semester gets off to a rocky start as she faces professors who won't accommodate her disability and pretentious upperclassmen fascinated by her unusual talent. Because then we have Colton, who died when he was 9 years old. And he awoke several weeks later at the feet of a green-eyed little girl. Now, 12 years later, Delaney has stumbled back into his orbit. So she was the little girl that he woke up in front of after he died. So he's back in her orbit. But Colton's been ordered to keep far away from the new girl. And the voices she hears calling to her from the shadows. So she wants to keep her distance from Colton. She's the only one on campus who finds him more arrogant than charming. Yet after a student turns up dead, she and Colton are forced to form a tenuous alliance. So Delaney and Colton discover the cost of opening the doors between worlds when they find themselves up against something old and nameless, an enemy they need to destroy before it tears them and their forbidden partnership apart. All right. So I am looking forward to this. I never bothered to read the flap before. So it looks like on our list, looks like we're going to have Ghost. I believe it's going to be a standalone. It looks like it's a boarding school. I couldn't call it a 5-star prediction because I didn't really give it a thought either way. I am intrigued, but I don't know that I would call it a 5-star prediction. Let me see what else was on the list. Here's my page that I got set up. Didn't that turn out cool? I think it's going to be possibly a mystery as well. So we might be able to mark off quite a few for Melissa. I will let you know at the end what we managed to accomplish for her. In the meantime, I am going to go start this book. Has anyone read it already? I know this was an Owl Crate box, October of 2022's box. So has anybody already read it? And I have to say, the cover is quite striking. Okay, wish me luck. I hope it's good. It sounds good. Okay. I think I might be taking one for the team on this one. I am partway through The Whispering Dark. I'm struggling, y'all. The struggle is real. Very lyrical writing. A lot of metaphors. A lot of description. I think I'm on page like 120 or something like that. 150. I haven't connected with the characters. It kind of reminds me of Gallant. It's a little visual aid for you. This was one that was lost on me because while it was beautifully written and very atmospheric and everything, I felt like the plot, the storyline itself was lacking, and that's what I'm experiencing again. So I don't know if it's just my mind's just wandering and I'm missing it because it's not holding my attention with all of the descriptions and all of the metaphors, or what it is. I still don't even know what's happening. They are at a college, so it's not, I don't know if this would count for a boarding school. She is living on campus, but the school has, I guess, some kind of a supernatural occult element to it, but it's all kind of isolated. So there's no relation to the real world. You don't know where this falls into place. The students there in this one particular branch of the school are studying the occult. I'm just like, what? Still this far into it between the two main characters who I know are, I guess, at some point going to have a romantic relationship. They haven't gotten there yet, but it's kind of cringe. There's no reason these two should come together. It's kind of got a slight creep factor to it. And she's got a scholarship to the school. You have no idea why she's got a scholarship. She's having trouble in her classes, and yet she's concerned about it. I don't know. I will withhold judgment. I'm going to keep going because there is, I think the storyline is starting to come through, and hopefully that will make a difference for me. So cross your fingers, and I will check back with y'all after I get further. I'm hoping to finish it soon because I don't want to draw this out. I'm determined to finish it, though. I will not DNF this book. I'm going to finish it come hell or high water. We'll just see how I feel at the end of it. Okay, so I've got my Snoopy pajamas, and I'm getting there. I don't know how well you can see that. I am now on part 3, page 271. So I've got a little over 100 pages left. Still not feeling it. The cover just made sense, though. This is an alternate cover. I will put the regular one on here. This is the special Owl Crate one. I don't know if it's just because I had such a hard time connecting to the beginning of the book, but I feel like I barely know what's going on. I'm just now starting to get it. It's just not holding my attention. My mind keeps drifting, and the way it's been written, you can't really drift. You gotta be paying attention, but there's just nothing there to keep me on the page. The flowery writing, either I've gotten accustomed to it and I'm not noticing it as much, or it is tapered off some, but that happened too late. I'm already ambivalent about it. Our main characters, who are Colton and Lainey, at the beginning, there is absolutely zero reason for them to really interact with each other at all. He is, forbidden to have anything to do with her for whatever reason, and that's still not made clear, and that's by the the powers of the school or somebody. I don't know. He's like a teacher's assistant in one of her classes. And speaking of the school has very little to do with it. It was just more like a setup for them to meet. You don't really understand the occult aspect of the school. You don't even know what she's going there to study. She's on scholarship, and she's having a hard time with her classes. And so it kind of seems like the premise to bring them together, and other than that just completely falls by the wayside. So school's not really a factor. It seems like it was a good premise that got lost somewhere. Unless in the last 100 pages it's all going to click. But in some books that works great. But with this one, there was nothing to have me be invested in it before we reached that point anyway. Honestly, I wanted to DNF this one within the first 100 pages, but I forced myself to stick with it, hoping it would change, and it really hasn't. I think it's supposed to have a dark academia vibe, but again, not really getting that because you don't really have any of the school setting. And I'm not quite sure what kind of supernatural this would fall under. I guess there's a ghost element. Yeah, there are ghosts. Okay, so ghosts are in there. And the occults. And I guess there's a few references to hell and everything. It's not to say that somebody else wouldn't like this book. I think it's just not my type of book. Like I said, it kind of gave me the feeling of like Gallant, or not quite as flowery as The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. That one was just, I thought that one was too long and drawn out. She just annoyed me. There's a whole other video on that. In fact, I've got one on Gallant. I will put little cards at the end if you want to see, how I felt about those books, and that might explain why this one isn't clicking for me. So if you do like those, go check out those other videos, and then you might realize that this might actually be something up your alley. I think it's just not at mine. I don't get it. I just don't. I am looking forward to this becoming part of my past. Yeah, I'm gonna try and finish this, I think, tonight. I'm not hating it. It hasn't clicked with me. Okay, we'll leave it at that. All right. I'm diving back in. Wish me luck. I love the cover, though. I had to say that. Bye. I finished it a day and a half ago. And I still don't know if I liked it or not. It's just, I struggled with this one, and it feels like the last portion of the book I maybe connected with a tiny bit more. I was a little more intrigued by the story itself, the plot line. Earlier in the book, there was very little interaction between Delaney and Colton, so I had a hard time picturing either one as a potential romantic interest. It really went from like two individuals who really had no reason to interact with each other to all of a sudden now they're, on the edge of this big romance and everything. I didn't, if there was a transition in there somewhere that kind of naturally reached that point, I missed it. For all I know, it was there and my mind was wandering because I was not invested in this book at all for the first half of it. It did kind of reel me in for the however much I had left from my last check-in. But by then, it was almost too little too late. The overall story arc ends up actually being pretty good. But like I said, it took so long for it to become clear what was actually happening that it lost its impact. I think it had the potential to have been really good. I have not decided if I'm going to keep it or not. I think I might keep it for a possible reread in the future, because after having finished it, all of it was like, okay, now I get it. So that might impact a reread a little better, but I don't know if it would be enough because, like I said, I never really liked the characters. I didn't buy that they would even be friends. Delaney comes off very passive, and I had a hard time with that at the beginning, so I never warmed up to her. Colton is supposed to come off, where everybody's charmed by him and all of this stuff except for her. I didn't buy it. Nobody seemed to like Colton. There wasn't really anything redeeming about his personality at the first part to where, you're not really rooting for anybody. The whole school aspect of it is kind of like a background. It's just an excuse to put these two in an environment where they would meet. So the school portion, forget that. That's really not an element to the story. The deaf aspect of it, I did find intriguing, and the author is deaf herself. She lost her hearing at the age of 4. So you've got an own voices angle to that, and I did find that it really added to the story. But at the same time, it kind of made her, she emphasized too much how she was just glass. She would break, and she was set apart, and it just seemed a little too heavy-handed on that, because she's also saying that, she wants to have more. She wants to prove herself and do all of this stuff, but yet when it's time for her to stand up for herself, she doesn't, because she doesn't want to make anybody feel bad. So it's kind of contradictory in that aspect. So again, I'm unsure about this one. I will say, having read it, I did like it more than Gallant and Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. There were aspects of the romance where I was like, yeah, okay, there were some really good parts of that where they did finally come together, and the romantic moments between them. But again, by that point, I didn't really buy them as a couple. So it was just like, oh, all of these good scenes were wasted on these two, because no. So I don't know. If anybody else has read this book, please tell me your opinion, because I did go and look at reviews, and it's got, I think, like a mid to solid 3, like maybe 3.7 or something like that. And people either absolutely loved it or they were like, not at all. So it seems to be one of those polarizing books where, and I think it just may be a matter of taste with the writing style. This is a debut, and I expect we'll have some really good books from her in the future as she kind of hones it in a little bit more. And this may have just been a matter of, you know, I feel like maybe some stuff was edited out and left on the floor. In the middle. I don't know. But it did fill some of our prompts, and that's what we're after. So let me look, and now that I've read it, see which ones this will count for to help Melissa through the Novice Path, because it's bound to get her through a couple of the checkpoints. I just don't think it'll work for all of them that I originally intended it for. So let's look one more time. I'm just going to put the list on the screen. It doesn't have a map, so that's a no. It didn't tempt me. It wasn't on the top of a TBR. It is a standalone, so we do pass through the mist of solitude with this one. It has ghost, so the ruin of sky, so it'll get us through those two areas. It'll get us up into this mountain area. I don't think it can be classified as a mystery. I think it's more of fantasy. It does have a mysterious element to it just because you can't figure out what the hell is going on, but it's not necessarily a mystery. So that's not going to work. It was not a 5-star prediction. And does it have to be a boarding school? Summarize the prompts a little bit to let it fit on the page. Oh, okay, just a book with a school setting. So it didn't say boarding school. It's not really anything about attending school, but it does happen at a school. So that would count as well. Gets us through the mist of solitude, ruin of the sky, and Orilium arc. That was 3. And if you haven't seen the other one, I will link it up here to see what other checkpoints Melissa was able to accomplish with the other book that we chose for this month. So I think she's as prepared as she can be to arrive at Orilium Academy in April, ready for the spring semester. So I am going to look around and see if there are any guilds that she might be, that might be a good match for her. I haven't looked at any of the guild stuff, so I will do that off screen, and we may have an additional video to come up with. Actually, I do have, so we'll have one more at least on Melissa's little journey before arriving at school. Unless timing wise, and it just happens during the school semester. Anyway, her story is not over, so keep an eye out. If you've enjoyed this, then be sure and subscribe and find out what else is coming up for her. I will have this as a full playlist. All right. If y'all read this one, let me know what you thought, because I still don't know what I think. I'm probably going to give it 2.75 or a 3. I haven't decided. 2.75 means, yeah, I didn't like it at all. 3 means it was okay, but nothing spectacular. And I'm hovering between the two. I can't make up my mind. All right. I'll see you in the next one. Bye now, and wish Melissa luck when she attends school in April. Hopefully she'll do well.